If you have pain from your scoliosis every day, then yoga may be the answer to make it better. But if we do it wrong, it could actually make it worse. In this video, I will walk through some of those challenges with scoliosis and how yoga can help us if we do it right. Welcome. If you are new to this channel, my name is Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga and Pilates teacher, and this channel is all about yoga and Pilates for those who have got scoliosis. So when you've been diagnosed with scoliosis, you might have seen an X-ray maybe of your spine. So you will know that it comes obviously with a side bend, and this could be more like an S-shaped curve. It could be more like a C-shaped curve. But what we can't see on the X-ray, of course, is that the scoliosis also comes with an element of rotation. With age and the effects that gravity has on the body, this curvature and rotation can get worse, but it doesn't mean that your pain has to get worse. So there's definitely a few things that we can do in yoga to help us with that pain. Back pain is actually a huge topic, and we will dive a little bit into this today. But if you want to know more about it, if you want me to go deeper in a little bit more of a neuroscience point of view of pain and what we can do to help us, then please let me know in the comments below if this is a topic of interest. What we have to understand, first of all, that pain is always a signal that something is threatening to our brain. So our brain is like a little computer and processor, and it has established that something is happening around us that could potentially cause a threat to our being, our life, and the response is brain, just to grab our attention. So this is very, very important to know and to understand if we want to use our yoga practice to help us with the pain. Unfortunately, our brains can't always tell if something is actually physically threatening to us, and that there actually needs to be that amount of pain. So just keep this in mind, that everything, so it could be a muscle tension from your scoliosis, it could be that rotation, it could be being in your scoliosis pattern on a physical level, but it could also be other things, other factors. Maybe you're going through a very stressful period. Maybe there's lots of kind of big emotions at the moment that you haven't really processed. So all of these things will contribute to your pain as well, which is good news, just to know this, because that means that we can really use our practice to our advantage. So understanding all of this, we now know that we need to use our yoga to give our brain some signals that it's okay and we are safe. So obviously this means that we have to do our practice in the right way, that it actually sends those signals to the brain that we are safe. So how can we do this? First of all, there are a lot of different types of movements in yoga, which is great because it helps us to be more mobile, to increase our mobility, to increase our flexibility. And guess what? All of that, when we move better, this actually means that we can feel a little bit safer in our bodies, which is actually going to help us with our pain. So movement is great. It's going to increase the circulation in the body. It's going to increase all those healing powers in the body. So it's really, really important to keep moving. And if we don't move certain parts of the body for a while, our brains kind of forget about those parts. And if you don't use it, you lose it basically. So this is why a variety of movements is really important, which is great, which is what we have in our yoga practice. So if you've been to yoga classes, there's always a wide variety of movements that we do. So really, really great to increase all those connections with the brain. The next thing that yoga can help us with is, of course, improving our strength. So strength is really important because it's going to give some stability around those major joints in the body. So think about your shoulders, think about your hips as well. think about your core strength, core stability. All of this is really, really important with scoliosis because, of course, those effects of gravity that gravity has on the body, it's going to want to take you further into your scoliosis pattern. So we have to learn how to come out of it, to maybe strengthen some muscles on one side differently than on the other, but then stabilizing overall to make sure we don't collapse into our pattern. So strength is a really, really important factor, and my members, they know this. I talk about this all the time, and we do a lot of things to just increase that overall strength and the core strength in the body. Another kind of unique challenge with scoliosis is that we have a little bit of a problem with proprioception. Now that's quite a big word, but proprioception just basically means how we perceive us in relationship to the space around us. So if you are kind of prone to accidents, if you bump into things all the time, then that means that obviously there could be other problems as well. It could be an eyesight problem. But most likely it is a problem with proprioception, so that you're simply not quite sure or not quite aware of where your body is in terms of the space around you. So one of these things with scoliosis is, of course, you might be standing a certain way, and then somebody else, maybe in your childhood it was a parent who would say, stand up straight. And you would be like, well, I am standing straight. Now, this is because we have gotten so used to that specific way that we are standing that our brain actually thinks that this is straight, but it's not, and it's in our scoliosis pattern. So there is a little bit of kind of retraining to do. And this is a great thing that we can do with our movement practice, with our yoga practice, just to help the body and the brain understand where we are in terms of the space around us. And guess what? This is going to help us with that level of threat that our brain perceives. So especially those standing poses in yoga, and especially the balancing poses that we do in yoga, are really, really good to improve that proprioception. It's also training us obviously to balance, to feel safe, and this is especially important as we get older, because naturally our sense of balance starts to kind of decline. So we have to train it. We have to make sure that we keep up with it, that we exercise it, and that we improve our balance and our proprioception. And then probably the most important way that yoga can help us with our back pain, with scoliosis, are of course the relaxation poses. So maybe this is not really an obvious one, and it's not always the most attractive one in a yoga class, but the more you practice yoga, I think the more you start to appreciate those relaxation poses and how important they are. So in my membership, I teach something called restorative yoga, which I believe is so important for those of us with scoliosis. It's just a great way not only to calm down the nervous system and help us to relax and help us to deal with all the stress that we have just from everyday life, of course, but it's also a great way to release some of this tension in our muscles that we experience all the time. Because you have to keep in mind, obviously, that because we have this structure, or we have this imbalance where the spine is shaped in a slightly different way, our bodies have to work a little bit harder to keep us upright and to make different movements. So of course they are exhausted as well. Those tissues need to relax, and they need to be trained how to relax as well. So this is why restorative yoga, relaxation poses are really good to help us with that, if we do it in the right way, of course. There are definitely a few things we need to avoid though in our yoga practice to make sure we're not making our pain worse. I'm diving into each one of these in a detailed walkthrough in this video, which is on your screen right now. So make sure to click it now and check it out.